Happy Friday, Patriot Radio News Hour. Wow, you never know what's going to happen. The whole world has lost its mind. Get out, get out the Jack. I mean, it's going to be a Jack Daniels Friday. Incredible news flowing out between China and the United States. The trade war back on again. Listen, this isn't a trade war. I've said this all along. It's not a trade war. This is the war to where China becomes a superpower. This is what it's about. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website, allamericangold.com. I've asked you. I've yelled it. I've talked it. I've told you it is time to increase your exposure to gold and silver. For those of you who don't have it, you better do it soon. Well, here's the thing, and I say this a lot. Eventually, you all call. Right? Why wait until it's going to cost you more? Gold's up almost $30 today, sitting at new right at 6-year high. Silver floating around that 1750 level, 1740 level. The Dow's down just under 500 points as the trade war picks up again. It started with China. It started where they are imposing new tariffs on $75 billion worth of U.S. good, and it's going to resume duties on American autos. Okay, so these are going to affect the auto parts. This is going to affect the plants in the South. BMW, Mercedes, right? These guys, in an effort to, let's face it, the Europeans, in an effort to continue with bad tariffs against us, because we haven't even dealt with Europe yet. They're just as bad as the Chinese, just so you know. And in an effort to appease us, the automakers like BMW and Mercedes built plants here, not to sell cars to the U.S. They built them to be shipped to China because they're like, okay, it costs about the same for us to build them there as it does here and then pay the tariffs to China. And so most of those plants, and they only have like one, right? Mercedes has a plant, BMW has a plant. The vast majority of those cars actually don't go to U.S. car lots. They get put on a boat and they get sent over to China. China had limited those duties. Now they're back on. The $75 billion. Here's how it's going to break down. The Chinese State Council says it'll slap tariffs of 5 to 10% of $75 billion of U.S. goods in 2 batches effective September 1st and December 15th. Now, remember, right, we've got the $300 billion, right, that we're going to do September 1st, and then Trump changed his mind and said, okay, because of Christmas, September 1st on the non-Christmassy stuff and December 15th on the Christmassy stuff. China says, okay, here you go, we'll do it too. It also said a 25% tariff will be imposed on U.S. cars and 5% on U.S. auto parts and components, which will go into effect on December the 15th. China has paused these tariffs since April. Now, my guess would be that the car companies that have the plants there are going to stop making them, right? And, well, I guess we'll make them back in Europe where we don't get the 25% tariff. I don't know. I'm just speculating. The retaliatory tariffs coming, obviously we know why. This was China's response to the U.S. We've been waiting for that response. The thing that was very interesting is that China now also in these have gone after farm products again. So there are going to be increasing tariffs on U.S. beef, U.S. pork, right? So all these other things that a lot of people, except for me, were saying, oh, no, China's going to have to buy our pork. They got the swine flu, this and that. No, they won't. I think China, by the way, Argentina's going broke again, right? No surprise there. They're going to turn or trying to turn Argentina into their food supplier. So you think about, China wanted to control the western shores of Europe, right? To the eastern shores of Asia. Apparently now coming right in America's backyard. There's been a lot of discussions and a lot of purchasing being made by China with Argentina. And, of course, their country, another currency crisis is happening there. I'm sure that China is going to be leveraging that. That's got the Dow down almost 500 points. Gold and silver are flying. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. I got U.S. $20 Liberties. Listen, I'm splitting it here with you. $15.65. And I'm going to tell you right now, you may want to buy it and buy it real quick. This is just, all of this stuff is breaking as we speak, so I'm trying to get it all together. The president wants all U.S. companies to get out of China. Now, there's debate on whether he's actually ordering it. He is ordered, there's no debate now on this, he is ordering all U.S. carriers to Amazon, FedEx, UPS, United States Postal Service to hunt down all fentanyl shipments from China. And I'll be curious. It'll be sad to know that they knew that this fentanyl was coming into the United States. The president saying China promised to stop the fentanyl. It didn't do it. And that is an order. He's ordering all U.S. carriers now to go through their packages and get all the fentanyl. So we'll wait to see on that. There was a question asked. The White House has yet to respond if the order to get to U.S. companies to get out of China, if that's an actual order or not. But here's where it gets interesting. There is speculation now, and I saw this the other day, and I wrongfully didn't put enough stock into this. Is the president working on an executive order to essentially intervene in the dollar? There is speculation that this afternoon, now the president has said he is going to respond to China's tariff announcements this afternoon. Let me tell you what's driving the markets. Right now, the Dow's down 500, gold's up almost 30. Here's what there's speculation here. Again, I saw this story a few days ago that the president was looking into several different things, including essentially driving the dollar lower through executive order. Also reshuffling who has votes at the Federal Reserve. Remember, there's only 9 voting board guys, and it's a rotating thing. There's dovish central bank presidents and hawkish central bank presidents. The president was trying to look into could he manipulate the board and get all the doves on the board with voting power. But here's what this is just breaking. Well, President Trump's latest Powell lashing on Twitter, man, and he hammered him again today. I'll get to that if I have time. Though was the most notable for the dramatic criticism of the Fed chair after Trump said, "My only question is, who is our bigger enemy? Jay Powell or Chairman Xi? Who is our biggest enemy? Jay Powell or Chairman Xi?" Of course, that's the president of China. What's far more interesting from the president and what got far less attention was the president's disclosure that the Fed is speaking, and I'm quoting here, without knowing or asking what I am doing, which will be announced shortly. The Fed is speaking without knowing or asking what I am doing, which I will be announcing shortly. So this morning, when the tariffs got announced from China, Jay Powell immediately came out, and because everybody knows Jay Powell was going to deliver another big dud tomorrow at Jackson Hole. He was going to play the tough card again. We remember the last time he played that card. Remember December? It was coming. Trust me when I tell you, it was coming. He struck a very dovish tone this morning. Wall Street, which was down, actually turned positive for a brief moment. Of course, now it's headed the other way. Let me tell you what the speculation is. What is it that President Trump is going to be announcing this afternoon that the Fed apparently is not privy to? Speculation is spreading among trading desks that, as discussed last night, so apparently while we were asleep, when China announced the new tariffs, there was a meeting taking place. Trump, and this is obviously what I've been telling you now for how long. The president's been telling you to buy gold, and you just weren't listening. Trump may have had enough of a soaring dollar, which just hit an all-time high in a trade-weighted terms, right? Because the euro, right? The euro's getting ready to hit parity with the dollar. The pound is like at less than $1.20, right? So when you look at the basket of currencies, the dollar is now at an all-time high. China, that currency no one's been talking about, now heading to 7-1. I told you, listen, it's probably going back to 8. Here's what they're saying now. So the president has had enough that he is going to instruct the Treasury Exchange Stabilization Fund, right? Better known as the Plunge Protection Team, to intervene in the dollar, potentially ordering the Treasury to buy the yuan or the yuan, the renminbi, in offshore markets to devalue the U.S. dollar against the Chinese. And now all of a sudden, by the way, there is a huge move in the dollar renminbi action. But this is what they believe the president may be announcing this afternoon, that he may be ordering the Treasury to essentially force them to weaken the dollar, go out and buy renminbi, go out and buy euros, go out and buy pound sterling, go out and buy yen, force the dollar weaker. If the Federal Reserve's not going to do their job, the president's going to do it for them. And really, ultimately, at the end of the day, because I already told you this was all going to happen. Don't you wish you'd listened to me 2 years ago, right, when gold was still only $1,200? Listen, let's not stop it here. 1,500 is nothing. We're going to have new all-time highs in gold. It's going to be here in the short term, right? In short term, the next year and a half. This trade war thing, this isn't a trade war. I've been trying to educate you about that. We were more than happy to allow the Chinese to sell us the cheap crap we were. We were more than happy to allow them to steal stuff. We were. As long as they just used it in their country. When we found out that China had bigger ambitions. Hey, we're going to steal your stuff, and then we're going to turn around and we're going to sell it for less to all the other countries out there. Right? And then they can rely on us and not you. Right? I.e., China wants to be a superpower. And this is what it is all about. I fully believe if it's this afternoon, we could possibly see $1,600 gold today. If this what they're speculating is true, I do know. And again, I saw these reports; they were out a few days ago. I didn't give it as much credence as I should have. I do know that the president has been talking to the Treasury about doing just that. Going out and buying other countries' currencies in huge volumes to make their currencies appear to be stronger and weaken the dollar. And again, the trade war thing, it's not stopping here. It's not stopping at 5 or 10%. Everything that we buy from China is going to 25. Everything they buy from us is going to 25. We're going to have the devaluations, all of those things. It's all happening. And, of course, think about how dumb our central bank really was. Right? I think about all the comments. What did we get out of the Philly Fed, the Kansas City Fed? Today we heard the lady from the Cleveland Fed. They're clueless. The president even said it. They're speaking. They haven't even picked up the phone to call me. They have no idea what it is that we're really doing. But now think about this. So I've already said, listen, rates are going to get cut at least 2 more times this year. And again, remember, you know how they hate to cut during the election. So if they're going to cut, and I think they're going to have to now, they're going to have to cut very early in 2020. Now, in addition to that, if the president is going to order the Treasury to start devaluing the dollar to keep pace with the Chinese, that was a factor I didn't even have in. First of all, I knew you could do it, but no one's ever done it. And here we are, and it makes sense. Right? It makes sense. We're trying to force the Chinese into not being a superpower. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's why I kept saying, Ohio, they're not agreeing to any of this stuff. They want to be it. You know, you think about the other side of this. Something today that I also never thought of. The president could actually order all of our companies to get out of China. And think about the ramifications of that action. Right? You think about, stock prices and all these ridiculous PEs. I mean, really, when you really think about it, all the stock market has done has placed higher multiples on these corporations. They don't make any more money. They haven't made any more money than they did five years ago. And think about all the stock buyback and all that stuff they've been doing. They're not any more profitable. And obviously this is going to come at a huge cost. This is why I've been telling you, get your allocations in gold and silver. You got to raise them. If you've never gotten into the gold and silver market, now is the time. We don't know what the announcement is going to be. I don't know when. There hasn't been a time. He just said this afternoon. But I'll tell you right now, U.S. $20 Liberties at $15.65. You got gold at $15.25, $15.30. Put them away. 800-951-0592.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report, a daily commentary continuing the conservative pro-family legacy of Phyllis Schlafly. Now, the president of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, Ed Martin.
As much as we try, Americans can't seem to rid ourselves of the antics of former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick. When the former San Francisco 49er first began protesting the national anthem in 2017, he claimed his problem was not with the Star-Spangled Banner or even the flag itself. He was protesting police brutality and the treatment of black Americans. But time and again, Kaepernick has proven that his problem isn't with either of these things. He wants us to be ashamed of our American heritage. Kaepernick's latest antics come through his spokesman work at Nike, since he can't get a job in the NFL anymore. During the week of Independence Day, a firestorm ignited, not through just conservatives, but people from all points of the spectrum. News broke that Nike was pulling a special patriotic shoe from the 4th of July sales racks. Why? Because the shoe featured the first American flag, the Betsy Ross flag, under which George Washington and our first American soldiers fought. Why would Kaepernick care about the Betsy Ross flag, the so-called 13-star flag? Because, he claimed, the original American flag hails from a time when slavery was still legal in America. Of all the ludicrous things that man has said and done, this might be the worst. Kaepernick wants us not to even revise, but erase history simply because it existed when something bad happened. First it was the monuments, but now the American flag itself is racist? Where will this lunacy end? Shall we burn down the cities where slaves were sold 200 years ago simply because they existed? Shall we destroy any building in America older than 50 years simply because it stood when segregation was legal? Don't be fooled. Marxists like Colin Kaepernick aren't in the business of justice. They aim to erase our national identity. They want to ensure that future generations don't know the story of our unique heritage and liberty. We cannot allow losers like Kaepernick and mega companies like Nike to dictate who we are as Americans and where we come from. This dangerous political correctness must be called out and squashed. You may just want to call Nike and ask them why they're afraid of America's rich history of freedom.
This has been the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. Political correctness is no longer simply about restricting speech. This tool for tyranny has led to employees being fired, pastors silenced, small businesses closed, and truth suppressed. Thankfully, the politically correct can't censor the work at phyllisschlafly.com. Join us, won't you, at phyllisschlafly.com. And thanks for listening to the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
Sorry, we're back. Patriot Radio News Hour, 800-951-0592. This is a very quick-moving market. I'll say it again. We're waiting on an announcement from the president. Speculation is that he is going to order the Treasury Department to intervene in the dollar, and essentially telling the Treasury to buy renminbis, euros, sterling, yen, whatever it may be, buy foreign currency, drive their price up. I'm now actually more confident. I don't know if he's going to do it today. It's coming. So let me just tell you what's happened since the break. The renminbi is crashing now. We've hit a new, now an 11 and a half year low on the renminbi. Now the renminbi to 7.13 renminbi to the dollar. So in other words, you need more than 7 renminbi for $1. This is now a year or so ago. You needed a little more than 6 renminbi. Now it's 7. My fear is it's going to 8. This is an 11-year high. Here's what's surprising about this move today. Yesterday it was about 703, 704, 705. This is a big move. Now down to 713 and falling. I would not be shocked to see the president, who has been all over this, talking about China manipulating its currency, and now the markets are essentially, everybody out there is selling the renminbi. There are no buyers for it. I expect this pattern to continue. I don't think, I don't doubt Trump. He says he's going to do it. I think he will. What does that mean for gold? I think what that means for gold, I wouldn't be shocked if the president makes the announcement that he's ordered the Treasury to intervene. We could see $1,600 gold today. We'll watch it. I don't even know when the announcement, they just said this afternoon. Right now, obviously, I will adjust prices accordingly as the news, if that news breaks, when it breaks. Right now, U.S. $20 Liberties right now at $15.65. Buy them. It's coming sooner or later, right? If it's today, if it's next week, if it's next month, it is going to happen. The Chinese renminbi now breaking to new 11-and-a-half-year lows. So you think about this is going back where we're now, 2008? I think we're probably going back, to 06, 05, 04, right, when the renminbi was, 8.4, 8.5 renminbi to the dollar. I think China would love to see it there, essentially nullifying the actions of the tariffs. Here's the other side of this. If we do that, if the president makes that announcement, what is China's response? My fear is their response is they're going to start dumping treasuries. Right? And you see the cycle that we're up against. Right? Where this is a perfect, they call these things, the perfect storms, all of these things. Could you imagine here in the next, just say 30 days, where we have the Federal Reserve, now would be what? Instead of cutting a quarter point, maybe they're going to cut a half point in September if this stuff comes to fruition. So we see a Fed rate cut. We see the U.S. Treasury essentially going to all out short the dollar. On top of, could we see the Chinese then respond with dumping of U.S. Treasuries on top of the fact that September 1st is next week? Well, kind of next weekend. And we have all these new tariffs in place. I mean, and here's the thing. Remember the charts on gold here. I don't want to speculate. Yeah, it's coming. Is it all today? I don't know. The problem with getting to 1,600 is there's nothing there in the charts. There's nothing there. So now all of a sudden, right, boom, 1,700 before you get any resistance, because we had one day. Gold went from just over 1,700 to 1,585 in a day. So when we're sitting here and we're looking at all of this, that is another thing to keep in mind. Remember when I told you when we got to 1,400, remember how long it took to get to 1,400? And I said that when it does, it's going right to 15. Remember, I told you that, going right to 15. It did it in less than 30 days. And went from 1,400 to 1,500 in less than 30 days. And then I told you, hey, we got some garbage in here between 1,535 and 1,585. And I know that I'm telling you, gold's, 1,525 or so, but that contract, that's an August contract. That's going to expire here and next week. That thing's going to be expired. When you look at the other contracts, like the December contract, sitting right at 1,535. That's a very important level. If the Treasury is going to short the dollar, I think we could see $1,600 in a matter of minutes. And then all of a sudden now you open yourself up that next, what I'll say, like that 30-day window where we could go right to 1,700. And then there's a little bit of arbitrage in the early 1700s. And then there's another $100 gap in the chart. Right? There's another one of these. There was three, over a 5-day period, the gold went from 1,900 to 1,400 in 5 trading days. They weren't in a row. But there are the big drops, 100-point drops, 3 of them. The 16 to 1,700 one, that would be the second one. The first one was 14 to 1,500. Gold's done that one. The next one's going to be 16 to 1,700. If it does that one, then you're going to be looking at gold. Then it breaks through some arbitrage in the low 1,700s. You'll see gold above 1,800 very, very quickly. And that's why I said I think we're probably in a scenario where in short, and I hate talking short term. I do. You just never know. Like when I went to bed last night, did I know China was going to announce tariffs? I didn't. Did I know that the president was going to call Jay Powell a bigger enemy than Chairman Xi? No, I didn't know that either. Right? Did I know he may possibly unleash the Treasury to short the dollar? I didn't. 800-951-0592. Put them away. You'll be glad you did. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. I don't know. What a Friday. You don't know. Right? You just don't know. The Dow's down 450. The S&P's down 50. The Nasdaq's down 170. Gold's up 27. Silver's up 35. 1739 on silver. Gold is 1526. I've got over the break. I was on the phone very quickly with our suppliers. They just sent another price increase. So I talked to them and we made a deal. I've got 30 more 20s. $20 Liberties, gold pieces, at $15.65. Then the price goes up to $15.85 before a move. So I'm just telling you right now, I got 30 of them. Listen, they're reading the same things I'm reading. They're reading the same things I'm reading. So take the time, put them away. Again, we don't know what the announcement will be, but here's what I believe. Whether the president does it today, I don't think is that relevant. I think it's coming. The renminbi crashing here, offshore renminbi crashing here now down to the lowest in 11 and a half years, I think is a good indicator that this won't last much longer. That we're going to be forced. Now, what I'm reading here is we have $146 billion, $146 billion that we can use to combat the decline in the renminbi. Now, what is that in the scope of the market? How much firepower is it? From what I'm reading, that's pretty substantial. So this isn't, it's not like we're showing up with a knife to a gunfight. Right? The way I'm kind of looking at it is we're showing up with a bazooka. So we have the ability. What would that put the dollar at? I don't know. I mean, does the dollar right now? Let's look in. I haven't even seen the dollar today. I know that gold doesn't care. The dollar is at 97.76. 97.76. Does the dollar go to 95? Does it go to 90? I don't know. I don't know. As soon as I do know, you'll be the second to know. I just think that the action itself, even if they say, hey, we're not using all $146 billion, because that's what I'm reading is what we have at our disposal to essentially combat the Chinese devaluation. Just the announcement itself is we're going to have new multi-year highs. I think we could see, like I said, in a matter of minutes, $1,600 gold. So the remaining liberties, like I said, I made the deal with the bullion bank during the break. I noticed another price increase. I called, I begged, and he allowed me to buy 30 at the lower price. This is it. They're going after this. It'll be $1,585. Obviously, gold jumps, right? They're going to jump, obviously, with that. So 800-951-0592. And I know a lot of you out there, man, Joe, I don't have 1565. I don't. I got it. Rolls of quarters. These are live in Colorado and Phoenix. These are live. We have them in stock. $125 a roll on silver. I think you'll see, if this announcement happens, I think you'll see $18 silver as well. And maybe $18.50 silver on the announcement. Right now, silver essentially $17.40. I've got rolls of silver quarters. You get 40 quarters in the roll at $125. So that would put your cost at $17.48. So let's just call it 9 cents over the spot price, 9 cents over melt. So if you don't have $1,565 for the 20s, I've got rolls of silver quarters at $125. Obviously, if the trading desk is right, and the president announces that the Treasury is going to start essentially weakening the dollar by buying the Chinese renminbi, I think you're going to see both of these prices, $15.65 on the 20s and obviously the $125 on the quarters, just be a stupendous buy. And like I said, here's the problem. We got so many other things after. September 1st is next week. Right, so we know the part of the tariffs kick in. We've got a Fed at Jackson Hole right now where I promise you right now, all the speeches they were planning to give are going out the window here. We've been speculating, too, is this the last of the Federal Reserve? And I know that's way out there, but is it? The president today, I mean, of all the things he said, and he's attacked the central bank, and rightfully so. The central bank, they all need to be fired. But asking who the bigger threat was, Jay Powell or the Chinese premier? 800-951-0592. Final segment, I know how to. Absolutely crazy Friday. $800-951-0592. Got 1820s left at 1565. They'll jump to 1585, and even then, I'd be buying them. The gold's now up $29.50. So right here, we're closing in here at the highs of the day. The gold's been as high as $31 higher today. Silver now at $17.40. Again, we got 18, 1/8, $20 liberties at 1565. After that, 1585. Rolls of silver quarters. For those of you who don't have the 1565 or 1585 rolls of silver quarters at $125, which now is 8 cents over spot. And again, we're waiting for the announcement. The Dow's down 470. The Nasdaq's down 55. The S&P down 55. Nasdaq down 179. Somebody else just, and I'm so glad that I'm getting these updates. Another big development. Remember, the president has been referring to Chairman Xi as a friend. He now, starting today, has called him an enemy. So I really think in watching the president's rhetoric, I think earlier this week, and I'm kicking myself. I blew it. I missed it. And I saw it, and I just didn't give it enough credence. Obviously, I think the White House knew that China was getting ready to take some sort of action. And I think this was a way to try to deter them from doing it, was this thing about the president possibly going around the Federal Reserve. And we know, listen, he's been trying to figure out ways to get around Jay Powell. And I know, I can guarantee you, the Goldman Sachs guys in that White House, including the Treasury Secretary himself, Steve Mnuchin, have been trying to convince the president, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't make us go out and buy the renminbi. I think he's going to do it. And again, I don't want to get too excited about it. I don't know if he's doing it this afternoon, but I think it's going to happen sooner or later. I'm watching the Chinese renminbi now, and it's picking up pace. It just keeps losing. I mean, it hasn't even been 30 days since they broke 7. Right? And now the pace of the decline of the renminbi is picking up steam. And I think the worry here is if we use our Treasury to buy the renminbi, to force the renminbi to stay strong, what's China's retaliation going to be? What does that mean for interest rates? What does it mean for all of these other things? I think that a full-blown and again, this isn't a trade war. It really isn't a currency war. It's a superpower war, which means trade and currencies are going to be heavily involved. And it's going to be, this trade war is going to escalate into a full-blown currency war on top of it. Make sure you're ready. 800-951-0592. Woo, man. I'll be back on Monday. It'll be crazy what happens. We'll see what happens over the weekend. I'll tell you all about it on Monday. Everybody take care. Make sure you got your portfolio right before the weekend.